Peace, this is Tareck Adeeb. It's time to go with the flow, bringing you a short synopsis on the astrology for the week ahead. Wow, I mean, it's been quite a lot, hasn't it? You know, we are in some of the most difficult and intense times of the year right now. Sensitivities are super high. It's very sad to see what's happened over the last 3 weeks. And if you listen to my previous videos, if you listen to my previous videos, there's been a certain degree of hostility, divide, and that really is sad because everyone who's been affected by the outer world right now is experiencing this suffering, if you are sensitive, that is. It's why we signed up to be here. You know, we have to remember that this consciousness, these experiences, and you know, our soul contract, if you want to call it like that, is all part of a plan. And even though it's very difficult when we see such, you know, horror in the world, and, you know, over the last week, you know, we've seen the war machine, and I call them the masters of war, continuing to perpetuate this theme. And it's very hard if you are a sovereign or a sensitive, caring person in the world to feel that, you know, to feel, you know, the masters of war, you know, the puppet masters continuing divide and conquer, people taking sides. You know, we're really seeing some extreme stuff happening in the world, and it's an opportunity really to dive deep into these issues, like, for example, the Israel-Palestine conflict. You know, we're seeing people taking a side of, let's say, Zionist sort of perspective, and then you see, you know, the inhumane kind of suffering of civilians, and then the horrible thing is this justification of war, or the insensitivity that comes with it to justify killing people. You know, that's the horror that we're facing as sensitive people, as caring people on the planet, as people who are here to make the difference, to show the way. And at times like this, when we go into that maybe feeling of helplessness or feeling of sadness, how do we convert that suffering into art, into expression, into illumination, you know, into light work? And that's exactly why I say why we're here. Because I can go into the details of this, and the last couple of weeks I kind of have gone into it a little bit more, but a part of me feels like there's no point, because again, it's the continuation really since 2016 of this extreme divide that's going on, and America's a big player in it because of America's Pluto return. So, you know, everybody in America, you know, or the influence of America in the world is at centre stage right now. And, you know, obviously politics is politics. You know, when if you dive deep into the reality, let's say, for example, 80% of the people in Israel don't believe or want Netanyahu there. You know, that's the truth of the matter. You know, the polls that came in. And again, this is why it's so difficult to talk about, because when we're seeing horror, we're seeing horrible, acts of violence, that people are taking sides because of it, you know, and then starting to, again, justify the actions of certain people. It takes out all the humanity, you know, and you're seeing, like I say, you know, you're seeing people who are taking sides becoming far more extreme. But again, it's very rich for people, you know, not living there, not to experience it, you know, firsthand, and not to see, let's say, the apartheid that's been going on in Palestine, you know, for like 20 years, you know, and all of that. And likewise, to see, you know, the suffering that, you know, Israel or anti-Semitic, you know, behaviour, which has created this, you know, over the last 2,000 years. So you're seeing so much complication. And then when people are living, let's say, on the other side of the pond and they're far away from it, it's very rich for those people to take sides when they're not really in it, you know, they're not feeling it. And likewise, you know, if you've got friends in those areas and it's closer to you, then of course it's going to affect you more, and you're going to be far more, you know, vitriolic, or, you know, take sides. And all of this is created to create divide and conquer. Like I say, 80% of the poll, you know, of people in Israel were like, no, we don't believe that attack, you know, or it could have been stopped. You know, I mean, obviously, again, this is where the inhumanity comes in, because it is a very scary situation, terrible situation, what happened there. And likewise, you know, any terrorist organisation, you know, is heinous. Sadly, again, you've got to follow the money. This is when this Tareck Adeeb, you know, it's here to shine light on what needs to change, you know, and we've got to protect ourselves. I mean, the masters of war are perpetuating, you know, sadly, you know, seeing Biden do his speech this week, and, you know, Rishi Sunak and various others, and you can see how they're taking sides and, again, perpetuating the war machine, justifying spending billions of dollars on, the war in Ukraine, which obviously is massively connected to what's happening in Israel right now. And then when you start to connect the dots, it is scary, or it makes you realise, hang on, why is this happening? And again, we can't be insensitive at times like this. So how do we go into our heart right now? And it's, in some ways, it's better just to shut it all off. That's kind of where I'm getting to a lot of the way with this right now, because things are going to play out. And I said this last week, we have to send a prayer of peace for the people, because the people that get caught up in all of this. There's plenty of people that want peace, obviously. There's plenty of people who do not believe in the government. And yeah, like I say, you see someone like Biden, talking this week, and you think, I kind of want to believe him, I really do. I want to believe these people, these orators out there right now who are seemingly, trying to, cajole us all into the right thing. And I'd like to believe it. But the problem is, it's more money going into more war. And, it's election season. And it's just terrible. It's a terrible situation to be in, to see the decency being removed, the justification of more horror and war, and the perpetuation of violence. And all of that I find very sad. So we've got to protect ourselves, like I said last week. We've really got to do that. We've got to go into our heart. If we're feeling it, even if we're shutting it off, the noise, we're shutting off the news, then we've still got to transcend that experience into something positive, into creativity. And now we're moving into like one of the most intense weeks of the year. I can't believe it. We're in Scorpio season already. I mean, it's absolutely remarkable. And sad to say that, because we're coming into this eclipse, I really feel this war, let's say in Israel now, is going to continue on. And you're seeing the people in the area, really trying to find solutions for peace. And yet, people on the borders is where wars occur. It's always the case. And you're seeing a really heinous example of force, and at the same time justification for it. And then, you've got to read about the stuff about Zionism if you want to find out more about what's going on in the area. You've also got to read about, the injustice to all the people, that's going on in the area. And then at the same time, like for example, Arafat, if you're going back to the history of all that stuff, he's no saint. All these people have been double standards everywhere. Again, it's the masters of war. It's the puppet masters who are behind all of this stuff, who are creating all of this division, all this optics, to make us take sides, to make us not stay in our heart, for us to feel anger, all the sort of negative emotions in our physiology. And we've got to transcend that into something creative, like great time to write a song, great time to write poetry, great time to paint, great time to communicate, great time to write a book. I mean, all the tools are out there now, with AI and everything. But sadly, the reality is that we have got Pluto in Capricorn right now, and this is why this is happening in such a, horrible way, in a very visceral way. And likewise, we're moving into the Scorpio season now. We've got Mercury there, we've got the sun coming in there now. And we've got this eclipse, this is like a really crazy week. And if you look at the eclipse, we've got so much squaring it and opposing it. We've got Mars opposing Jupiter as well at the same time. So again, Jupiter in Taurus right now. There is this element of, like I say, the old world, I keep saying it. But with this Scorpio energy, it's inside, the incisions, the injustice, like the horror, the vile aspects of the old world, the blatant reveal of double standards and inhumanity. And even like, when you're thinking about the world, Uranus in Taurus, the old world moving into the new world. So finance is a big one. All the money printing, the justification for however many billions to afford the war machine, obviously that's propping up the stock market, even though it's starting to dip slightly, even though it hasn't completely crashed or anything. And now you're seeing Bitcoin, really starting to come in now. So if you look back, what we talked about at the start of the year, when it was at 16k, now it's moving into that. So again, the nature of Uranus and Taurus is the change in the financial system. That's just the way it's going to go. Is it going to be a CBD system? You've just seen recent news with the XRP stuff as well, if you're following all of this, how that now hasn't, they dropped some of the cases with them. And they're very much to do with CBDC. You see Christine Lagarde, in terms of Europe, wanting to move forward with it, obviously England. And the SEC, coming down now. So this Bitcoin spot ETF, if it's coming, everything's going to go crazy in that regard in terms of that world, the crypto world, or blockchain. And now we've got AI, huge opportunities in AI. So there are opportunities to make money if things are crashing. That's the difference. It's the pivot, and it's crucial now. Everybody was on my mentorship. I know I haven't done anything this year, but everybody, I will be doing it next year, by the way. We were talking about this way ahead of time. We were really getting ready, to position ourselves for this exponential wave, moving out of the old world into the new world. And it's really weird to see it happening, So for example, we still don't know. I mean, there may well be more black swans. We've got the eclipse coming. The eclipse will reveal stuff. It is connected to these wars, and Taiwan still is an aspect to all of this over the next couple of years. But for now, what we have to do as sovereign individuals, we have to stay in our heart. We have to do everything it takes to block out the horror, the noise and the vile aspects in the world right now. It's not to ignore it. It's not to go into willful ignorance. That's not the right way. That's not sovereignty. It's not about going into apathy, i.e., even though it's very easy just to shut it all off and I just don't want anything to do with this, It's so complicated. We have to go into our heart. We have to illuminate. We have to be wise and put light onto these things. And then we've got to protect ourselves, i.e., have boundaries. And then we've really got to push this, this feeling, if we're feeling it so intently, into creativity. This is going to be one of the most wonderful times of this next couple of years. Pluto into Aquarius is going to accelerate everything. We're going to see so much change in the world. So there's everything to be hopeful about. But again, May 2026 is the date now. It is this from now until then, is very important for us all. To find peace, to show the way, to be the way, and all of that consistency. And it just takes small little steps, like I'm going to bed early tonight. I'm turning off my phone right now. I'm going to go see a neighbour and, knock on the door and make sure they're okay. Going to go to an elderly home or be a volunteer. Do anything, anything that you could think of, just a small little thing to create light, to create the difference. Light a candle, If you're suffering and you're feeling anxiety, just get your body and start moving. Dance, do whatever it takes. Or go into a salt bath, just release the stress. All of these things will help every day consistently. And then when these critical moments occur, we'll be able to deal with it at the time, because there's more critical moments to occur. We've got so much change coming from now all the way until May 2026 that we've got to be sensitive enough and adaptable enough to make sure we're making right decisions, we're finding the right tribe, community, and we're moving in the right direction. There still is time, there still is everything available for us to create heaven on earth, to go into this Yuga cycle of the golden age. There could easily be differences in split reality, that could easily happen. Where there's a third dimensional world, a fifth dimensional world. So right now we're in between eclipses. This very strange period of time allows us to, to sort of see things, in a weird way. It reveals a lot. We're coming towards the end of what has been a very difficult couple of years. Scorpio, Taurus. We're really coming out of it now, even though we are in Scorpio season. So a lot of Scorpio energy now, which is extreme. So for example, relationship stuff. If the Venus retrograde really ended a relationship, then obviously the Scorpio period is going to completely distance it even more. It might make us think about it. If we're going through a renewal in relationship, that's what the Venus retrograde did, then be cautious right now, because old things might come up to trip us up. Something we all should be aware of is that when we make a change, we have a reverberation. An echo is what I call it. Echoes come back to test us, to make sure that we've transcended, we've moved forward, we've learnt the lessons. And if you don't honour that reverberation, that echo, then you can easily trip up. So for example, because we're in between eclipses right now, and eclipse is coming on the 28th, and we've got all this Scorpio energy, very quickly, if it's not in integrity, it could end. So just be careful. Like that's obviously any kind of relationship. So we're still in a very extreme period of time here. Obviously, on the world stage, I mean, we're seeing serious death right now. Like horror. Absolute inhumane humanitarian disaster. We're seeing savage amount of people apparently dying in Ukraine. So, on a personal level, we've got to manage it. We've got to be cautious right now because it could easily happen. You've come so far, or you've still got doubts, and then those doubts could massively exaggerate, and that's it. It's done. It's done. Just whew. Same time, if you've been in harmony and it hasn't been so bad, this Venus retrograde, because we're really out of it now. But again, it's these eclipses. It's more, like I say, reverberation, echoes of what's happened in the summer. You could go really deep right now. Sacred sexuality, for example, that's Scorpio. You could really get deep, having gone through the humdrum of the summer, the consistency and being helpful to others. Now you can really get intimate, because that's what Scorpio is. So enjoy it. A lot of, like I say, deep intimacy can happen at this time if you've finally found harmony, grace, and sovereignty. So we've got to be prepared because, like I say, Mercury and Mars are conjuncting, when we get to the 29th. And obviously, Scorpio energy, it is extreme right now. And we've got more Scorpio to come. And even Venus will be in Scorpio, in this year. So these are all tests until we move really, really into January. And when we get to Aquarius season in February, when Pluto is in Aquarius, that's it. We are out of this Scorpio intensity, which really goes all the way back to 2012, when Saturn was there and eclipses happened there. So all these themes are closing out as we're moving into far more, new themes, the old world going into the new world. And again, I wonder how easy it would be, for, like, let's say, if there is injustice in the world, I mean, obviously, it's always the common people that get caught up in the masses of war. It's not the people who are organising and profiting and creating, if it's a land grab, if it's a way to, it's always about money, it's a racket, it's money, it's war. There's always a reason for some self-interest. I just wonder how easy it will be next year when we've got more AI, more opportunity to reveal, what is malign, what is hidden. And the eclipse might do more, so we have to wait and see what happens. But once we get into November next week, which I can't believe I'm saying that, 2023 is almost done. I mean, we are moving into far more prolific times in 2024 and 2025. It's been a really difficult period these last 2 years. So much uncertainty, economic downturn, on a whole nother level, and we've still got more of it to come. There's been so much confusion, so much subversive stuff. I mean, this is Scorpio. There's also been war, and wouldn't it be amazing next year if, the revelation occurs and we start to get more peace on earth? And that's what we've got to do, South Node in Libra. We've got to be at peace ourselves. Me and Eugenia did a little talk last week. We were talking a lot about Israel and stuff, but, just the main premise is this. You've got to be at peace yourself. You've got to be in your heart. You've got to be breathing correctly. That's just the most important thing. And if you can do that, if that means switching off the TV, if that means, disconnecting from certain people who are triggered, because it's all PTSD, all of this 2016 fourth turning winter, if you want to read about that stuff, is all PTSD. Trump coming in, what's his name, the Brexit in England. This is the old world, getting more authoritarian maybe, protectionist, or a shift in the world, however it may be. And then you get someone like Biden, who sadly most people would not wish they hadn't voted for him now, and again, all of these puppets, people who are being played by the puppet masters, sending everyone down, divide, conquer, and then, some sort of Armageddon as well, and all of that can be avoided with people who are at peace. People, the majority, who are in their heart, who are breathing. That's the most important thing. And then if we can do that, we can be relaxed. I keep saying it all year, we can relax. I mean, go into the mammalian part of the brain. This the advanced consciousness that the human has. It's not what a robot has or AI. I mean, fair enough, the intelligence can be superior to a human, but not this consciousness, this feeling, this empathy. So if you can relax and breathe, yes, you're not going to ignore things that are horrible in the world, because, again, it's the lizard brain. It's the reaction side of us, the fear. But if we can go into the breath and we can relax, then maybe we might be able to see each other's points of view, and that's peace. That's how we turn the other cheek. That's how we find forgiveness. That's how we see things from each other's points of view. That's a path to peace. It's a way to create harmony, connection, humanity, But there's so much out there in the world right now that is creating fear, apathy, willful ignorance, or anger, revenge even, All of that is malign, but we can't ignore it as well. So how do we rise above it? We've got to get into this mammalian part of the brain, the curious part of the brain, the side of us that can see through, let's say, the distortions. And wow, there could be so many more distortions coming with deep fake and things like that. So many more. So we want to go into our heart, we want to breathe, and then we want to come into our sovereignty and then create, expand our unique gifts and abilities into the world. That's the people we want to align with, who hear that, who feel that, who see it. And likewise, then once we're at peace ourselves, then obviously we could be at peace with others. If people are in PTSD, if people are going into extremes, if people do want to act out terror or horrible things, revenge, things like that, we can try find a way, to maybe work through what is really, really a test at the moment. It's like the dark times before the light. We have to be of the light. We have to relax into health, peace, joy, abundance. And then as we start to manifest, these things will be attracted to us, which will create hope. It'll create inspiration. And then we can really, project that to the world and find the right people, because we've still got a lot more to play out from now until May 2026. So just to sum it all up, I keep going over my time here with these talks these days. I'm supposed to have a limited amount of time, but I'll have a community soon, and people will be able to come into that, and we'll be able to talk better, within that community. But just to say this, it is extreme right now, and yes, on a global level, it can be scary. It's designed that way, I'm afraid to say. It's the masters of war, it's the puppet masters. The proliferation of war is good for politics if you're in jingoistic place, or you want to create more control over your population. Then nothing better than to create fear, i.e. we're being attacked and we've got to do something about it, which someone profits from. So, that's the sad reality of war. There's no need for war. Yes, you've got to prepare for peace, you've got to be in self-defense, but you don't have to be adding to the problem. So it's very important for us to try our best not to go into reaction with this stuff. If that means turning it off, so be it. We can't ignore it, but at the same time, we don't have to become inundated with it either. Then we've got to really protect ourselves if we're going into a stressed place, because ultimately we need to survive. We need to thrive when we move into 2026 and beyond. We want to be part of that golden age. We want to add to it. We don't want to check out, so we're not responsible to the next generation. At the same time, we don't want to become too, exaggerated in our feeling state, overwhelmed by fear or whatever, or emotion. We've got to be balanced. That's how we create peace. That's the South Node in Libra. That's being able to see things from the other person's point of view, but ultimately be at peace ourselves. That light, that service really helps others. And if there's more crisis moments to come, we'll be more aware. We'll be able to take the necessary action to shine the light, on the puppet masters or the masters of war, who we don't want any. We don't want them in this world. They haven't got our best interests. Look what's happening, in these wars. It's the common people that are dying. It's not those people. It's all politics, and it's horrible. Sometimes it has to get dark before the light. So we've got to keep the light within. We've got to be healthy, breathe, relax. Trust that this is going to be more obvious. I've been waiting for this month. Sadly, this war in the Middle East is now going to probably continue. You know, it's not going to stop. Are other countries going to get involved? Well, that's what remains to be seen. It's unlikely. However, there's a potential of that. Likewise, how do we find a resolution in Ukraine? How does this war stop? How does it end? We've got to pray. We've got to send prayers to the people of the Middle East. We've got to send prayers to the war in Ukraine, and we've got to stop this horrible, heinous violence in the world. We've still got a lot of Scorpio to play out. We've got to use that alchemy, that way to transition, to transform the dark to light. We've got to do it within ourselves to start with, transforming fear to love, transforming hate into into forgiveness, and that starts with yourself. It starts with the immediate people around you, and then take action on your creativity and show the way. Be the light that you are here to be. So with that, we'll be talking again next week. I think we'll be in New York next week, me and Eugenia. But we've got a full moon to play out. And say, relax, be calm, be cautious, be careful, because any move that gets made right now could have extreme consequence. So if you're ready to leave something that is dysfunctional, if you're ready to end something that no longer serves you, then this is the time to really cut it, with these eclipses, and that's it, okay? If you're not sure, be cautious. Try get to the other side of this eclipse. When we get to November, we get to Saturn direct, which will be the following week when I talk to you. That's really going to shape us moving forward. It really does seem, as we get into November, there's going to be more clarity, it seems, with regard to, let's say, the financial world. There's still time. There's still time to pivot. There's still time to do the research. Some things will become unaffordable soon. That's just the way it's going to go. Other things are going to come down hard. I mean, again, this Biden economics right now, or what's been decided, has propped everything up. That little bit more war has that. It's propped everything up. But still, when unconfidence occurs, when it's too little, too late, things crash. Because again, this is also inflationary, you see, with all regard to this money printing. So there's going to have to be a shift into a new system, like a Bretton Woods system at some point. And, CBDCs, there's certain fears related to that. But we can profit from it, if we're jumping on some of these trends. AI, wow, what an amazing trend. NVIDIA really kicked ass, and it created a lot of opportunity, financially. So you've got to be aware of these things right now. But the good news is that this last couple of years, when we've been talking about survive and thrive, the water tiger that kicked in the Chinese New Year last year, wow, it's been intense. We're moving into a very illuminated year of 2024 and 2025. But because of the bifurcation, some people are going to be going up dramatically and other people are going to be going down dramatically. That's the reality of what's about to happen. It's already happening. So we want to be in this community, and Eugenia's community, and various other communities that will be created from this connection. We want to be on the right side of it. We want to be thriving. We want to be inspiring. We want to be gathering, the right information. We want to be proliferating light. We want to be attracting the abundance that is our birthright. So with that, be careful this week. Relax. Let's see what happens on the other side of this eclipse. Things may well get revealed, but once we get to November, more definition, more awareness of what's coming, and a new theme. We've got the Chinese New Year next year. That's the year of the dragon. It's a big one. We've got Jupiter conjunct Uranus. That's a big one. We've got Pluto into Aquarius. There's no going back, really. Just a slight little retrograde that we'll get next year into Capricorn. When we get to 2025, we are accelerating into this new world. And then by May 2026, so much will have happened by then. If we haven't shown the way, if we haven't done what it takes to make the difference and participated accordingly, we'll only have ourselves to blame. We don't have to get overwhelmed by that thought. We can just take small little steps to the greater good, the greater collective, the collective consciousness, which this Aquarius is all about. So with that said, I've talked a lot again. I'm going to go now. Take it easy. Be your way to show the way. Peace.